Okay, let's see if that works now. Oh, that's okay. Hello.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
I'm awesome. How are you?
Good. Just hanging out.
Good. I
Friday night.
computer and then it said not joined, so now I'm on my phone, so we'll see.
Yeah. You look really pretty tonight.
Thank you. I got all dressed up for you.
Oh, I'm like, I'm not going to do very much tonight. So tell us who you are and where you're from.
Okay. So my name is Janae Harden. I am from South Jersey. I am a clinical social worker. I'm a wife. I'm a mom. I am a lover of words. I have always loved how people can put them together and just the different affirmations that people gain from just words in general and just the impact that they have on people. So really that's my goal with writing, and that's kind of who I am right now, is just kind of finding myself through words and welcoming people just along the journey with me. So I'm excited.
Awesome. So social worker, I'm a teacher. So very similar. I know do you work with kids in school?
I do. Last year I was in the middle school for 3 years. So next year I'm actually going to start in the high school. So I am just enjoying my summer off. I know you probably are.
Yes.
Want anything extra? I've had enough.
Last year was rough,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for what you do, in high school. I can't imagine. I teach elementary school, so
Okay. See, I can't imagine the little kiddos. I can't. I don't know if I'd be able to write if I had the little ones all day.
I love them. But
Okay.
then you probably love the high school, so
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Yep. I'm looking forward to it. Definitely.
awesome. So, tell us a little bit about, well, first of all, just a fun question. What does a Friday night look like for you?
So it's Friday night. I had my husband run my daughter to Rita's so I could be quiet and do this interview and just talk to you. But typically it's a pizza night in the house. It's just us kind of home doing our thing. I try not to do like any writing or anything on the weekends because my daughter is home. So right now it's just kind of like just relaxing.
Yeah. Well, Riona says she's a high school teacher in the UK and she would not enjoy the young ones either.
Yep. Yep. Get it.
And someone else said the little ones are amazing. MS, the little ones are amazing. So it's funny to see the differing views.
Hmm. Yep.
So your book is called 42 Minutes. So give us a little synopsis on that without, you know, breaking the spoilers, I guess, out.
Sure, sure. So, 52 Minutes, it's a thriller. It is suspense. It's young adult suspense. We open right up with a murder, and I think a lot of young adult books are kind of based on like who done it. You know what I mean? Like the whole books typically go through trying to figure out a murder or who did it or why they did it. But with 42 Minutes, it really opens up with the murder immediately. So we already know two of the main characters. We already know Indigo. We already know Jackson. We already know Indigo kills Jackson. And the rest of the book really kind of just unfolds slowly and kind of reveals like why this took place. So I really love it. I love this book mainly because I think it also talks to like our shadow sides in a sense, because it's like we know murder's wrong. Of course it's wrong, but through the course of this book, we're really just unraveling it, and you can't help but root for Indigo. So it's really interesting just to see like why this takes place.
Nice. So when you, first of all, Indigo, I love that name. So I'll ask you a question about that in a second. Well, actually, let me go ahead and ask you. So how did you get that name Indigo? Is there something personal with that or?
You know what? I have a long list of names in my phone that I have saved for like baby names. And I've got like a list of boy names and I got a list of girl names. So I'm like, obviously I'm never gonna like name kids this. Like I'm not gonna have like all these kids and stuff. So I'm like, let me just put them in my books. Let me name these names that I love. Let me just finally put them in my writing.
Yeah, I love it. And then what was the secondary character's name?
Jackson.
Yeah, that's a cute name too. I love that name. Me and my husband kind of talked about that Jackson. If we ever had kids, we would name our kid Jackson with an X.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of cool.
Of my Jackson. So
So did you use any, excuse me, personal like people in your life to name your characters?
nope, none of them. I don't want anybody in my life to come back and be like, "Oh, you're writing about getting a fake name."
Yeah. Well, did you let's see. My question was, did you draw from any of your experiences with your students that you work with to write this book?
So, definitely, but more so with me being a social worker, I've worked like a lot of really different jobs. Like I was a child protective services worker for a couple of years, and I worked in a prison for a couple of years. I also worked at an HIV clinic for a little bit. So I have a lot of experience that has helped me kind of like shape like the human experience, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like I've had a lot of time to like really study mental health issues and how it manifests in certain people, what it looks like. So all of that makes for great writing. It really does.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Like you seem like an awesome person. Like you've done a lot of like really cool things for society. So that's really cool, you
Yeah,
know?
thank you.
Yeah. So you were speaking about mental health. Does that come up in your book?
It does. It does. That's the little twist to it. So I won't talk too much about that part, but yes, there is a big mental health piece to it, and a lot of it is why Indigo descends the way she descends, and a lot of family issues come up. Secrets are revealed that point to a lot of mental health issues. So as this series unfolds, we'll really get into her trying to get some of her mental health issues back on track. And it's interesting to see because with her in the next book, she's going to go to college. And so, yeah, so we'll see like a lot of these same behaviors and thoughts and stuff popping up in college when, that's supposed to be our, wild and crazy time.
Yeah. I love that. I love when an author just falls in love with a book so much that they've written that they're like, I got to continue it. So
Yeah.
was that your plan in the beginning to continue writing it as a series?
It was because I just thought there's just so much material for this, and there's just so much, so many different ways that I could take it, especially with the mental health piece and the murder. So I definitely want to lay it out in a way that feels natural and
Yeah.
feels. Oh, like she kills him and she kills these people, but we still like her. We still want to root for her.
Yeah. So, I am a white person, obviously. But I definitely want to read more diverse books. Like that's been one of my goals this year in 2021. So when I saw that your book was diverse and that you're diverse, I was like, yes, because I don't know, like, and then hearing about it, I'm like, that's an awesome book. So like, I definitely have to put this on my TBR. But the other thing is too, like
I
I
was gonna send you one, but then I saw in your bio it said like no more reviews. So I was like, oh, okay.
yeah, well, I get all these messages from random people and they're like, will you, and I'm like,
Yeah,
look, I think I've got like 60 books on my TBR list. So I'm like, no, but like for someone like you as an author that I'm interviewing, yes. But like if you're coming in and you're like, I don't know you, you know what I mean? Like I'm
yeah.
like, I can't take anymore.
Well,
But
we'll connect.
yeah.
I'll send it to you. We'll connect.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. Like I didn't expect that, but I just I love YA. YA is awesome. And speaking of YA, like was that where you felt drawn to it first, or did it just happen to be a YA book as you started writing it?
You know what it is? Because I think my voice is strongest in YA just because I deal with so many young adults anyway. In addition to being a social worker, I'm also a mental health therapist, and I only do therapy with kids between like I would say like 6 up to like 20. So
Yeah.
definitely, I mean, that's a wide range itself, but it's still definitely like an adolescent age range. And there's just so much, like I said, material and so many different ways you could take different things that they experience. And it's also a different creative way to work in like counseling and therapy and stuff like that.
Yeah. So the mental health aspect, like I know personally speaking, I struggle with depression and anxiety, and I'm in recovery for that. I am in recovery from an addiction. So my thing is like, I've been in for 7 years, but what I see is like, there's not a lot of people of color like in the recovery community. And I don't know if that's like, maybe you can help me in this. I know you're not, speaking for everyone, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's a thing, like in the culture, like where it's like looked down upon. Like, I know with Asian culture, my husband's Asian, like if you have a problem, you just tough it up and you
Right.
just, you know, so is it like, is it a cultural thing that like a lot of African Americans feel like they can't like seek it, or is it just case by case? And did you incorporate some of that, like the cultural aspect of it, into
Um,
the book?
it's definitely, my entire book is cultural. You know, it's written, you know, from my perspective, you know, as a Black girl, but it's definitely written for everybody to read. But I think as far as mental health and like addressing mental health, I do think it's more so a cultural issue. But I want to say more so with like older generations who are, you know, less inclined to seek out therapy, and it's very taboo to talk about. But I think with younger generation, they are the ones who are like out front. They're loud and proud. You know, they want to talk about things. Like we're very vocal. They're very vocal, and you know, especially with you being a teacher, you know, like they'll say anything. You know, teenagers say it, they'll do it. They don't care. And I think that's a sign of the times too, is you know, they just want to talk about it. These things aren't things that should be swept under the rug. So I feel like, in a sense, like I'm doing my part by, you know, putting this information out there and saying, you know, hey, you know, no pressure, but, you know, check out this book. You know, it talks about some of the things that you might be experiencing, and, you know, let's build from there.
Yeah. So as you were writing, did you see any kind of change in your characters, like that you didn't expect?
Um, Not changing my characters, but I do think I saw a change in myself. Because when I was writing my first book, Hey Brown Girl, you know, that was more of like a
Oh.
coming of age novel. It was very much like a feel good novel. And with 42 minutes, it was darker. So I had to kind of go to a darker place. So I found myself, you know, just kind of like ruminating over different things and scenarios, and like, you know, how would, you know, this happen if someone was killed this way, you know, and I had to research a lot of crazy things. So I'm like, I hope, you know, the FBI doesn't come and you know, take my history.
Yeah. So when you were doing your research, like, what does that look like for you?
So I try to first start with like anyone that I know who, if it's something specific, like, and I know someone, you know, that has dealt with that, I'll try to go to them first. But a lot of times I am like knee deep in Google, and I'm talking about like not the first page, like page 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like I'm knee deep, and you know, just trying to figure out, and you know, taking notes, and just trying to form something that will be believable to readers, because that's really what it is. You know, you can, I feel like you can write the craziest thing, but as long as, you know, people are believing it, and it sounds like it can be like really kind of, you know, sort of happen even in the fantasy world and stuff like that. Like that is why for me the research is so important.
Yeah, I mean, if you, like for me, like if I can't figure out something in a book, I might go to Google and look it up. So I think as a reader, like I want, unless it, you know, of course, fiction, you know, you can throw stuff in there, but it's just, I don't know, as a reader for me, like I want to read stuff that seems like it could even be truthful, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so that's good. So this is your second book. So tell us about your first book.
It is. It is. Yep. My first book is called Hey Brown Girl, and I actually released it in March, just a couple of months ago. I released. So that one is about, like I said, it's a feel-good novel. So that one's about a Black character. Her name is Raven. She has almost like the pitch perfect life. And then one day, Child Protective Services comes and they drop off her cousin Carter, and they say, you know, he has to live here, or, you know, we're going to put him in foster care.
Oh,
So yeah, he moves into the house, and he has all of these issues, all of this trauma, and he just seems to really turn the house upside down. So
wow.
that book goes through kind of navigating some of his issues, and just making sure that the family stays intact as a unit.
Gosh, that's so sad. You know, as a teacher and as a social worker, I know we both can understand seeing kids struggle with that. I've had a kid in foster care, and you know, he was the sweetest kid. He would tell me, "Oh, I'm adoptable," and I'm like looking at my husband, like, "Are you ready? Like, let's go." But um, on that book, did you draw from anything from any of your students?
That one was more so from my time with Child Protective Services. You know, I worked for them for 5 years, a very hard 5 years, felt like I was doing time. And but from that experience, like it just grew me so much as a woman, as a social worker, and just my capacity to have empathy for others.
Yeah.
So so in this book, in that book I didn't really draw from like any specific situations, but just the tone of it and how it feels, I think is very reminiscent of child protective services and a child dealing with them, because they're not fun.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, as a teacher, I just attended this true crime conference, and got to meet Nancy Grace, and she was talking about a lot of cases that she's covering lately with kids. And she's like, "Where's the teacher? Where's the teacher?" And I told her, I said, the teacher can only go so far. We've got red tape. You
yeah,
know, such
yeah.
a hard system. Like there's so much red tape in the system. And you know that because you worked with CPS. It's just like you can only do so much, and
Mm-hmm.
then it stops. And so, we can't go pick up kids. We can't go look at their house and see if their house is okay. We're not allowed. So our hands are tied. But yeah, tell us about your third book. Like, so you did tell us a little bit, but are you currently working on it?
My third book is finished. It is, yeah, it's with the editor right now. It is the second book to the 42-minute series, so the Indigo Lewis series. So that one will probably come out. I'm shooting for December. But I have a few more things that I'm working on too, a couple other series that I'm looking into. So I really plan on releasing at least 2 to 3 times a year. I have just tons of just, ideas and different things from like all of my jobs that I want to incorporate and just kind of put into a creative form. And that's my main thing that I want people to know is like I'm not new to this, I'm true to this. Like I really plan on making this something that is bigger than me,
Yeah.
and really want people to really hear the messaging behind the books and really hear the intent and some of the stories, and really I'm hoping that they open up a lot of conversation, a lot of dialogue for conversation.
Yeah. Riona says she can't wait to add your books to her wish list. I'm like, I have 6 months to probably read
Thank you,
your
thank
first
you.
and your second book. I have 6 months because if your third book releases in December, I've got to read that. I've got to read your first two, even though the first one's independent and the second one relates to the third one.
Yep.
Still, I'm like a person who has to read in order. So I've got to read your first two
Okay.
before I read the next one. So I'm going to go see if my library has it, put it on my Amazon list and go buy it. So,
Okay.
yeah. So you're in publishing right now. Do you have a private publisher or do you self?
I Yep, I am all self-published, and right now I think that's good for readers who are interested in like following me in my journey, because if you read Hey Brown Girl and then 42 Minutes, you'll see also the evolution of my writing. I'm still I'm not necessarily a newbie. I write, with being a social worker, we write tons of evaluations and assessments and all kinds of stuff. So I have the mechanics down and I know how to, write it down, make it sound all nice and pretty and all of those things. But this is my first time kind of transitioning into creative writing. So you'll definitely see the evolution of my writing from book to book to book. And I take it very seriously. I really try to hone in on my craft, and I really try to learn as much as I can. And that's my plan also this summer. I'm not doing anything school related. I'm just, anything to my writing and my craft.
Yeah. And you mentioned that because I'm a teacher and I'm like, I'm also a writer, but I just haven't published any books. But it's like finding the time to do it. And
Yeah.
then sometimes it feels like dragging yourself through mud and you're like, I don't want to write, but what do you do if you ever feel like burnout from writing or whatever?
I honestly I do something else. I do something else. I really try to listen to my body. And if ideas and the creativity and the different things just aren't flowing and I find myself staring at my screen too long, I know like, Janae, get up. You need to move around. You need to get something to eat. You need to get that blood back flowing.
Yeah.
Do something else and then come back to it. So that might last an hour, that might last, a day or two. But for me, I have to do something else.
Yeah. So Are there any other plans for another book after this third one?
Yep, I got a few more things that I'm toying with. Yep, a few more things that I'm toying with. And I don't plan on stopping until Netflix comes calling and they're like, get the
Yeah.
movie.
Yes. I mean, your books sound amazing, and I can imagine. I feel like so many books lately have been becoming movies, and I guess Hollywood ran out of ideas, but that's okay for us readers, right?
It,
Because it's like,
it,
bring it on. We want to see our books. Yeah. So one last question. Who's your inspiration? Like what writers do you like to read, or even music? Like what kind of music do you listen to kind of get inspired?
I my favorite writer was Eric Jerome Dickey, and he did pass away a couple of months ago. And what's so ironic and also heartfelt about it was when I had finally like sat down and I started writing Hey Brown Girl. Um, I didn't like plan it. I didn't really, think about it too much. Like a friend of mine just said, you're so dramatic. You should just write a book. You know what? You're right. Let me write this book. So I just like started writing like a mad woman. But in that, I had started to write this long email to Eric Jerome Dickey, and I was going to send it to him, and I was going to say, you really inspired me, and I, wish that my writing is half as good as yours, and I just loved everything about his writing and followed his career. And then he passed away like a month later.
Oh,
So I was totally bummed about it. I was upset, but yeah, he did inspire a lot of my writing. And I really do. I really kind of seek to be what he was to me as a teenager reading books.
yeah.
And I just want to make sure that other teenagers feel something when they read these sort of books, and they are totally my inspiration. Just making sure that they see themselves and they see that it's authentic.
That's so beautiful. I feel like, especially in the culture today, man, these kids they need support, they need love, they need
Yeah,
to know that someone cares. And so hopefully, your books, they sound like they do provide that, and books can so often be a safe place
right.
for young people. For me growing up, like that was my escape from a chaotic household. So I would dive into a book and I would escape. So that's great. I had one more question and it like completely went out. Oh, maybe I had a suggestion. Maybe you can contact his family and say, hey, I meant to send this letter to him, like maybe that's an option.
I was thinking about that too. Like I typed out this long email and then I never got to send it. So I was like, I need closure.
Yeah. So Riona has a question for you. She says, as a social worker, you say you write reports and stuff, but have you always enjoyed writing creative writing, or did something inspire you to start doing that?
COVID. Yes, I was sitting home bored like everybody else. And you know what? I had always said, even I remember like as a teenager, like I don't remember this, but I have friends and people that tell me that, you used to always say that you were gonna write a book. Like you would always say this. And I don't remember that. But apparently I would tell people I was always gonna write a book. And finally when COVID hit, of course I had the time, I had the opportunity. But since then it's almost really turned into my self-care, and that's part of the reason why I enjoy it, and that really was my inspiration, and it continues to be my inspiration because like now it's like my full-time self-care, and I realize like after I get done writing I just feel so light, just
Yeah.
so, and it's a beautiful feeling when it's right for you.
Yeah. And Miss We Care says, amazing, you are everything, Janae. And Rihanna says, that's amazing. COVID has been good for some things. Glad you decided to write. Yeah, I think a
Thank
lot.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, I started my Bookstagram during COVID. I was like, I'm bored. I'm just going to start reading again. And
Hmm.
I did so many things.
Yep.
So I had one more question and it completely went out the window. I hate when that happens. Oh, the cover. I love the cover of 42 Minutes. It's beautiful. And it makes me think about, what is that? The Hate You Give. And there was another book, not Dear Martin. Is it Ghost Boys? I don't know, but definitely the hate. It gives me that vibe. Like, can you tell us a little bit about your cover? Can you tell us about your cover, how it got created?
I'm a freak about covers. I really think I've spent more money on covers than anything in this world because I'm very, very particular about it. But when it came to designing the 42 minutes cover, I really wanted something that kind of showed a little bit of madness, if that makes sense. I wanted it to kind of show, Indigo at her best, but also on the flip side of it, she's got her eyes closed, and when it flips, her eyes are open, and then her hair is all wild a little bit, which kind of this, and there's a lot of things that happen and go on with her hair in the book that make it significant too. So so everything like kind of plays off of each other. So I really love it. I find myself just looking at it and I just cannot believe that it's mine, and I wrote it, and the cover's mine, the words are, all of it's mine. Like, I really can't believe it. So I'm just so grateful.
Yeah. And a lot of people, Rihanna says a lot of people, many people with books based on the cover. Yeah, I think the cover just can speak, and it can draw people in, like if I see a cover as a reader, I'm like, ooh, that looks good, and so when I saw your cover, I was like, dang, that's a cool cover, and I know in the Black culture, like hair is so important, it's like its own like spin-off of culture, right? So
Yep.
does it play anything in the book?
It does. There's a little twist to it that has to do with her hair, and that's why it's so prominent on the book. And but once you read it, it'll make perfect sense. I don't want to give anything away, but it'll make perfect sense.
Yeah. Well, it has been so good talking to you tonight, and I would love to interview you when your new book comes out, if that's possible.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah. And kind of give you some publicity. Not that you need it because you're awesome anyway, but kind of give you publicity. And Christmas, like, what a great time. Like, It might be good to advertise it for like a Christmas gift for people. Hey, go buy this book, right?
Yep, that's the plan.
Well, thank you so much, Janae, for taking time with me tonight. And again, guys, one more thing. Miss B. Care says your words in the book match the magical cover's top tier. See, it seems like you have a really strong following too, and that's awesome. I think it's great to see like readers support writers,
Mm-hmm.
One question. She wants to know, what other platforms can we find you on?
I am on, of course, Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on TikTok. I have a lot of crazy TikTok videos. Everything is geared towards reading and writing. What else am I on? And I think that's it. Yeah, those three.
I'll have to go follow you on TikTok. It's like a rabbit hole. I look at one video and then I scroll and I'm like, where am I? Like 45 minutes.
Yep.
Is her name on TikTok? Is it the same?
Yes, it's author Janae. Yep.
Okay, author Janae. Yeah. Janay, guys. So go follow her and go check out her books. 42 Minutes.
Yep.
Dear Brown Girl, right?
Girl.
Yeah. And then there's another one. What's the third one called again?
That one I haven't titled it yet, but it's coming soon. I'll be talking about that one pretty soon. So
awesome. And follow her if you haven't already on her Instagram page, author Janae. Do you have a Facebook page?
Yes, it's author Janae. It's Anae Writes Melanin on Facebook. Or just search author Janae. I'll come up either way.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time out tonight.
Yep. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And thank you for joining us, guys. You have a good night, Janae.
You guys.